shipping creative work. If it doesn't ship, it doesn't count. You're allowed to have a hobby, but this isn't about your hobby. This is about the change you make. And creative means it might not work. It's something that only you could do. It means that we can't get a computer to do it, and we can't hire someone on Fiverr to do it. And work, because it's not your hobby. It's hard. It takes emotional labor. It's better than digging a ditch. It's better than cleaning a latrine for sure, but it's still work. And we're not allowed to whine about the fact that we have make-believe writer's block. We have to simply show up and do our work.
Because I love that idea about it. It's not the, we don't ship the work because we're creative. We're creative because we ship the work. And I guess it comes back to what you're saying with the wrong to right, is that people have become far too focused on the big reveal or the aha moment or the thing they can share at the end of it all, and miss all the much more important steps in between.
Yeah, I think that one of the most pernicious traps is becoming outcome obsessed, to hustle your way to becoming a hack, to saying all that matters is the applause, all that matters is the revenue, all that matters is making this list or that list, all that matters is the likes. Because they do matter in the sense that they give us fuel for the next cycle, but they aren't the point. The point is to see the world the way you see it, to do the best work you can, and then to learn from what happens next. That's what makes it a practice. So if we think about the doctor in the emergency room, patients die, but that doesn't mean you stop being a doctor. It just means you learned something in that interaction. And it's entirely possible, even if you had done it perfectly, someone wouldn't have pulled through. That doesn't make you stop being a doctor. And the same thing's true if you're a stand-up comic, and the same thing's true if you're trying to make social change. That when you go to raise money for a nonprofit, if you're only going to gauge if you did a good job by whether or not you got a donation, you're going to become paralyzed, because you can't know if you got a donation until after you've done the work.
And I guess it's failure, right? It's people just being increasingly afraid of failure. But those examples you highlight, being a doctor with a patient on the table, or a stand-up comedian on stage in front of thousands, the stakes are raised. Like, is it a case of, yeah, with the practice, raising the stakes for what you want to achieve yourself?
Well, it's interesting. The stakes for the patient on the table are certainly high, but the stakes for the doctor, the most productive surgeons have the most patients dying because they're doing the most surgeries. And I feel badly for the patients who died, but the point is, without the surgeons, we don't get anywhere. And the stand-up comic who does the most gigs is the one who's going to have the most people not laugh at a joke, because they've been in front of the most people. So the question is, how do you even decide if it's a good joke? Is a good joke that's laughed at by every single person, right? Like, it's how many years later? 50 years later, and we're still, I was quoting Monty Python this morning, but I'm surrounded by people who don't understand Monty Python, which I don't understand, right? And the thing is, that was an act of brilliance that almost no one understood, made on a shoestring, seen by almost no one. And yet, 50 years later, it still informs the way so many people think. I think that's great work, but if they'd been measuring it by ratings or cash, they would have said we're a failure. And I think that would have been a mistake and a tragedy.